What's up guys, I'm Sean and welcome back to the channel. A while back, we mentioned how there are just so many different tire sizes on the market. If you haven't seen that video, you can watch it right up here. Now with so many different sizes available, choosing your next tire can be confusing or even intimidating at times. So today, we will explain to you what all those numbers really mean and how to choose your next tire. For this video, we will be focusing mainly on the different size specifications and how they affect your tire selection. We will also be focusing on a few other common markings found on tires so that you have a better idea of what they mean. So on your typical road tire, you'll usually see a string of letters and numbers like this. These are the main ones that most people will typically need to look at when choosing a tire. The first number is the nominal section width, the second is the aspect ratio, and the third is the rim diameter. So the nominal section width is the distance between the outermost points of each side of the tire measured in millimeters. This is different from the tread width that is only measuring the surface that is in contact with the road. Tread widths will vary between manufacturers as they each use different methods of construction and design for different models of tires. Now, the nominal section width tends to mostly correspond with the width of the rim that you will be using, followed by the amount of space that you have available inside the wheel well. Especially if you are going to be reusing the same rims, you will want to follow as closely as possible to your original tire to get a proper fit. As rims are also available in narrower and wider widths, changing to a narrower or wider rim will allow you to use narrower or wider tires as long as your wheel well has enough space for it to turn fully and unobstructed. Take note that different rim widths do have different recommended tire widths, and I will link a reference to this down below. Now there are quite a few examples on the internet where people have used undersized tires for their rims to create a very stretched out look. I would not recommend this at all as it seriously compromises the ability for the tire to hold onto the edge of the rim and maintain a secure fit and an airtight seal. The second number here is the aspect ratio, and this basically refers to the height of the tire sidewall. Now this number is a percentage and not an absolute measurement and is based on the nominal section width. So for example, a tire width of 195 mm with an aspect ratio of 55 means that the height of the sidewall is 55% of 195 mm, which works out to be approximately 107 mm. So as the sidewall does determine the overall diameter of the tire, it is important to choose the most appropriate aspect ratio when switching to a narrower or wider tire, as the overall diameter of the tire not only affects just the clearance of the tire inside the wheel well, but also the accuracy of the speedometer, as well as the handling of the car. It is important to get this overall diameter as close to the original as possible. Now there are plenty of calculators for this on the internet, and I will link one such calculator in the description down below so that you can easily compare different tire sizes and work out what's best for you. Now the third number here is the rim diameter. This one is pretty straightforward. Just get the size that corresponds to the rim size that you will be using. If you're unsure what size yours is, just follow the rim size stated on your existing tire. Now a little tidbit here, sometimes you may see an R in front of the rim size. It is a common misconception that this R stands for rim. What it actually stands for is radial, which is a type of construction used for tires today. These days, pretty much all tires are radial construction, so you don't really have to bother about this. If you do happen to be looking for a non-radial tire for whatever reason, then you probably already know enough to not need this guide anyway. Now, we come to some of the less commonly looked at markings, and one that most of us tend to overlook but really shouldn't is the load index. The load index is the number that typically follows the 3-number size specification which we talked about earlier. It will be shown as a 2 or 3 digit number accompanied by a letter at the back. This letter is the speed symbol, and we will get to it in a bit. So why is the load index important? Well, this is because it is the maximum load that a single tire is rated to carry when inflated to 240 kPa or 2.4 bar. The number shown itself is not the actual weight, and you will have to refer to a table to determine the maximum load, which I will also link in the description down below. So for example, a load index of 85 has a maximum load rating of 515 kilograms when inflated to 2.4 bar. This amount will decrease if a lower tire pressure is used, hence why it's important to always keep your tires properly inflated at all times. Now I know that most of us do not even consider the load index of our tires and tend to leave it to our tire shops, which is totally fair, especially if you are purchasing one from a reputable brand. Just bear in mind that if you do happen to be choosing one yourself from a more obscure brand, do ensure that the load index matches or exceeds that recommended by your car's manufacturer, or you may be running a risk of tire failure, which is not fun at all. So you may have already guessed that the speed symbol indicates the maximum speed that a tire can safely run at. This is corresponding to the load index that is rated for. So like before, you will have to look this up from a table, which I will also link in the description down below. As an example, a tire with a speed symbol of W has a maximum sustained speed of 270 km when under load. Just like the load index, the speed symbol tends to be overlooked quite often, but do still bear it in mind when selecting a tire on your own and not go below your car's recommended speed symbol. Now the last one we will look at is the treadwear, traction and temperature rating. So these are all tested under controlled conditions by the manufacturers themselves, so your mileage may vary, especially under actual real-world use. So because of this, these ratings are better used as a comparison among different tire models rather than an indication of actual figures. Treadwear is basically a measure of how long a tire will last, with a higher number indicating a longer lasting tire. These numbers are linear in nature, so a treadwear rating of 200 should in theory last twice as long as a treadwear rating of 100. The traction rating is based on the tire's straight line braking performance and denoted by a grade ranging from AA to C, with AA being the best performing and C being the lowest performing. Temperature grade is about the tire's ability to handle heat dissipation, and similar to traction grade is denoted by a letter from A to C, with A being the best and C being the minimum required by law. So when selecting a tire, you need to consider two main things: size and application. Where size is concerned, I would recommend that you stick as close as possible to the original tires that came with your car. For the section width, I would try not to go more than one size higher or lower than the original, as going any larger than that will be entirely experimental on whether it is able to fit and still retain a full range of motion while the suspension is being compressed. Also remember to match your rim width to your tire width properly in order to ensure a secure fit. Lastly, stay as close as possible to the overall diameter of the original tire by using a tire size calculator to compare them. In terms of application, you will want to determine whether you require a more eco-friendly tire that lasts longer and is more fuel efficient, or a high-performance tire that can handle higher speeds and faster braking at the expense of wearing out noticeably faster. And if you are unsure about anything, please consult a professional or your preferred tire shop in order to get the safest and most optimal recommendations for your car and your needs. So that wraps things up for today. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, please help me out by giving a like and subscribe to the channel. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.